Now, the need for social safety net is a critical concern for government across the globe and for the billions of men, women, and children striving to improve their livelihoods. Now, according to a recent World Bank report on the state of social safety net, only 55% of the world's poor are covered in social safety programs. China, India, South Africa, and Ethiopia have the largest social safety net programs and reach over 526 million people. More than 1.9 billion people in 136 low and middle income countries benefit from social safety net programs. Now, in Nigeria, one of the campaign pledges from the present ruling party is to give 5,000 naira each to several millions of poor and vulnerable Nigerians, a pledge that recently sparked a series of debates. Now, in light of this, can Nigeria create workable welfare schemes? Femi-Dagunro, economic policy analyst and chief strategist, Westphalia Resources, joins me to talk about this. So good morning to you and thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
So we're talking about creating a social safety net for Nigerians. What are the issues? Why is it that it's a little challenging, a little difficult to come up with programs that can cater for the poor and vulnerable in the society?
Excuse me. First of all, we have to realize that it has to be budgeted for. And this is not the first time we're hearing this. Sometime in 2014, the former Minister of Finance, Okonjo-Iweala, said, listen, we have even tried it. We have experimented some of these programs in Kano, and everything has been put in place, to make it work out well the way we wanted. But unfortunately, it has not worked out. And I'm surprised, was that even in 2015 budget? Because before you begin to plan all this, it has to be budgeted for. Do we have the data to capture how many of these people do we have that will have to pay for? When you say social safety net, it simply means we have to take care of the elderly ones, we have to take care of the unemployed citizens, we have to take care, the health services has to be well managed, and so many other things that has to be put in place. It is not something you just wake up one day and you say you want to do this. It is a long-term plan. Okay, campaign audacity is always there to say, look, we're going to do this. This is what you expect politicians to do. It's a very good thing. But when it comes to legislative timidity, then people don't look at that. I mean, the politicians have to be very careful this time around, playing to the gallery and not really playing with the emotions of the youths. Because when you say 5,000, how many of these people are you going to pay? What are the criteria for paying this 5,000 per month? Is it budgeted? And how are we going to raise the fund? So first of all these things have to be put in place. Infrastructures have to be put in place to make it work. It is not that you want to pay someone just 5,000 naira and the person takes the money to go and buy a recharge card. Normally in some places, in good places, in some other country, you are going to do this to boost the economy at the same time, to create entrepreneurship. That look, if you need a laptop for 25,000 or for 50,000, if you go to a bank and say, look, I collect 5,000 monthly, and they can somehow, raise this money for you, so that with your laptop you can begin to do something. So that is how you can boost technology advancement. So a lot of all these things has to be put in place. We can't just wake up and say, yes, we want to do it. But don't forget, Harriet, sometime I was told that in Ekiti State, it was practiced where the former governor was giving 5,000 naira monthly to the elderly citizen. So if it has worked somewhere else, let's figure out how have they been able to achieve that, and let's bring them back together to the round table and say, listen, we want to work this out. Then are you going to start from the federal level, the state level, or the local level? The local governments, what are they going to do? You have to bring them into play. I mean, the local government has somehow lost its focus. So nobody is even hearing anything from the local government. You're just hearing from the state and the federal. What about the local government? So a lot of things have to be put into plan before we begin to see how the social welfare services work.
But before you begin to put that into plan, you need data. You already talked about that.
Yes.
Now, with regards accurately computing data, do you think we've done enough in that regard?
See, basically, this time around, we have all this BVN thing going on. You have the BVN process, you have the biometric data being captured virtually everywhere you go right now.
But it's not everybody that is captured under that. You still have some unbanked who'd rather not even just come anywhere near the banks.
That's right. That's right. That's why the local government has to be, you have to bring in the local government into this. Because without the local government, how do you reach out to the people, those unbanked people? But not just the BVN from the bank. Biometric data has been captured where, recently, the government even fined MTN for not doing the right thing. So now you begin to see that most of the people have their mobile phones, and their data has been captured. You capture data from everywhere. You know, it's just been scattered all over the place. How do we have a central data system? During the voting period, you capture the data of the voter. So you have the data, then you have to utilize it to meet the demands of what you want to do. And then, are you planning to take a loan to fund this? Because if we know that we don't have money to even do so many things that, like I said here, one of these programs, that, listen, if the government of Buhari will go on an expansionary program, then that means he has to take loan from somewhere. And if he has to take loan, that means we'll be in debt for some more years to come. So he has said he's going to do this, but is there a time frame? Has he limited his time to say within 6 months I have to do this, or within a year or two I have to do this? Don't be surprised. That's why I say political audacity. That's we would do this, but we have no time frame. So we can do it in 2 years, we can do it in 3 years, but we have to do it because that's what we plan the people.
So where do you think that the funds can be raised for this? You know, because remember, it's also still going to come up on this program. This the Vice President talking about what the budget will be like for 2016 during the retreat for the ministers designate in Abuja. That you know the budget might be above what we usually have it at 8 trillion naira in 2016. And so we're talking about a social safety net for the vulnerable and the poor, looking at 5,000 naira maybe or more than that. But do you think that you know the budget can totally carry this, or you already mentioned it, whether we should borrow and the implications of having to borrow or collecting or using you know some of the other loans that have come in from the World Bank, especially you know with regards development, to use it for this particular scheme?
Well, like I said, I don't know what the president would like to do about it, but lately I discovered that he has been saying that, listen, I need to get the money locally. I need to get everybody that has stolen government money to bring it back. And if it's achieving that, maybe we'll be seeing that, okay, locally we can raise funds. But if not, it's not something the government alone can do. The private sector has to be involved. Listen, right now people have forgotten we have pensioners who have not been paid for 5 years. So, I mean, those have even contributed into the purse. So they've not been paid. And now you want to bring in another problem upon the government again. So I don't know how it's going to raise the money, but along the line, it has to be debated. It has to be approved. I mean, there must be a law to back it up. So we have not even gone to that level of how do we raise the money. Let us have the infrastructure. Let us have the plans right. You know, don't forget, I want us to look at something. If you have Sure P, You Win, and all those other programs, let us look at it. Where have they really missed it? Is there anything good in that Sure P thing? Is there anything good in You Win? If some of those things have been working well, let us revise the whole thing. It's not that most of these programs are not bad, are not good really, but those bad implementation on how do we implement it, let's begin to revise it. Dr. Kolade said that it is not as if Sure P was bad, but the implementation, and he was vetoed into so many things. So let us begin to look at some of these things we don't need to renew.
But you see, that's the difference. Yes. For Sure P and You Win, these youths were employed. Right. And paid for services. Right. But in this case, it's just for you to give a certain amount of money to some certain groups of people, not because they're working, yes, for free.
Yes.
And so it's supposed to be a regular thing. Now, we're looking at how regular should it be? Should it be until the end of this tenure, or every year, or for the next 2 years? Or how long should it be? Or how long can it feasibly run?
Very good question. But that's why I'm saying, how many people do we want to pay? How do we capture? How do we know those people that we have to pay? So we don't even have data to start the planning. So the first thing is to bring back, if we know we are going to pay 25 million people, don't forget, the Vice President said we are going to pay people whose children are going to school and they have to show their immunization card. So who are those people? Then if you say you have to pay the youths, is it those who have just left the university after the completion of NYSC? So the program has not been designed. It is just, you know, a proposition. It has not been designed. It's just a proposal. Look, we have to do this. But unfortunately, it was said during the election, and that's why I'm saying that it was a good thing that he said it, and people want to take him for that. Now, but let me tell you one thing. Those services, social services or social welfare services that will be free, has to be paid for by someone. You know, people are paying into it. If you go to Europe and say, look, after all, you have social welfare services. This thing has been paid by some people for years. So it is not something, that is why you have some people who are, you know, aggrieved when they see foreigners coming into their country and say, look, they want to come and, you know, take part of what my great-grandfather has paid. So now, if you want to start it, if we started in 2016 or 2017 or 2019, so it has to be a long-term program. And let's look at what Jack Conde did. How did he achieve that? Free education, free health services. So some people have done something great before. What happened? So let's sit back and look at some of this and review them and replan it. So it is not something that is new. It is something that we just have to replan. And if you have the PENCOM, for instance, who is managing the funds for the pensioners, which is doing well. So what about, somebody has done something great in that aspect. So a lot of all these things, just sit back and let us, but, like I said, politicians should just be mindful of what is said. Because now, if a party is saying, listen, you have to start it right now, then you call that party and say, look, has it been something you have been doing? You promised it, but you have not done it. And now we have to begin to look at this government. There should be a non-partisan project as well. That whereby you don't say, because I have to follow my party line. There are certain times in life or in politics where you don't simply have to follow party lines, whereby it has to be the interest of the people.
So now, in the interest of the people,
yes.
Should this be proposed now, or should it wait until we see a definite direction with regards to economic policies, with regards to growing the economy and the rest of it coming out before we put forward policies such as this one?
Definitely. If you don't have fiscal policies being being planned and let us know what is it going to be like, then the monetary policy, we have seen it. People don't really trust so many things again. And that is why the investors are not really having the appetite, to invest the way we look at it. A lot of things are going on right now. And when you look at when the economy was, you rebase your GDP, did you rebase the social welfare policies in it as well? So these are the kind of things we have missed a lot of things because somebody just came up and said, look, this is a good idea, let us do it. But the implication of the idea, the cost implication of the idea, nobody is looking at it. And now, you see, it is not, that's what I'm saying, it is not being about principle. We know that Buhari is a principled gentleman. But then you might be principled, but the principle prudence has to come in as well, whereby you have to negotiate interest. The interest of the masses has to be taken into consideration. I mean, that is why he said, look, I'm going to do this, I'm going to help, I'm going to do, but helping, this gentleman came out and said, look, we don't have enough money even to pay the ministers. So we have to look at it. It is not an immediate thing, but social welfare services is good for our people, no doubt about it. But I can tell you, there is no way we can begin to implement that right now. This year is out of it. 2016 may be a time to just start planning, but execution of the plan may fully or half or partly begin maybe if we add this money into the policy, into the budget. Otherwise, people should be looking at 2017 at least before they can expect something that will cover a broad spectrum of the people, of the masses. Ordinarily, this is a long-term project. It's not a short-term project.
Joe Femi-Dagunro, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Joe Femi-Dagunro is a chief strategist, Westphalia Resources, and he's also an economic policy analyst.